Welcome back. This is chapter 4 of Machine Vision for Visually Impaired People. I'm going to talk today about ethics before we get to OCR, which is going to be the next topic. And I would like to say behaving ethically, giving thanks. Thanks to my wife for making cold brew. So anyways, at the start of a project like the Echobatix app, ask yourself, why are you doing it at all? What's this about? When you ask questions about why, that leads to ethics. I'm not kidding. This is really important. What do you want out of life and work? What do you want out of your next project? Is it money? Is it comfortable living? Colleagues who are friends? Achievement? Recognition? And how are you going to go about it? Do you seek mentors? Are you going to use open source projects, if open source libraries, if you're a developer? And if so, are you going to respect the licenses of those open source projects, for example? This is an ethical choice. And your ethics in particular are really important. What you think is right, what you think the right thing to do may be. That includes things like if you work with other people, credit them. Someone I know, Samantha, had a really great portfolio website, and she listed all her various projects and explained in each project who had worked with her, and she linked to them. So not just a resume saying, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. It's a portfolio where you could see the progression of work. The key to figuring out what you're going to work on and also why is this. You look around and you see no one is doing something that you think should be done. Should be done. No one's doing it, or it's not being done well enough. And I'm saying this whether or not you have the programming skills or you have a lot of vision experience, whatever it may be. If you see what my friend Matt calls a gap in assistive technology, you find out no one's doing this, you're going to do it. That's how it works. Because who else is it going to be? You can convince someone else. You could try that. Find someone who can do it. Find them. But you're the one who's really pushing it along. So now in the previous videos, I explained, and the reason I explained my skills and experience and all that was to get to this point where I can talk about how my own notion of what product should exist, because it addressed a gap. We decided this is the thing to work on right now. So, and I'll say, working in assistive technology is not about, you can think of it this way, but I caution you to be very careful. This is not about help. There is, at least as I interpret the word in the context in which I've heard it and seen it, when people talk about helping people who are blind and visually impaired, it sounds condescending a lot of the time. Technology. It is a matter of ethics. It is specifically a matter of justice and rights. Boom, it's simple. So let's start at the top. And this is how I think about it. You can think of us however you like. I'm just going to say the first principle is accessibility is a right. Accessibility is a right. Tim Cook of Apple has said this publicly, and it's something I also believe strongly. This is the starting point. Say that to yourself if you're going to work in assistive tech. Accessibility is a right. If you believe in anything resembling equal rights for all people, accessibility being a right is a direct consequence of that. Okay, now from that, I've come up with 3 specific principles: equal outcome, equal usability, equal time. Equal outcome. That means that a blind or visually impaired person, so I'm going to take it as an example because that's how I worked on the Echobatix app, and I'm going to tie this right back to the vision work. That's what this is all about. Equal outcome. Someone using the Echobatix app, touchscreen accessibility app based on vision processing techniques, OCR, hand detection, and so on, which we'll be talking about in the very next videos. A person who is using the app should be able to do all the same things with a touchscreen device, a menu, an appliance, and so on, that a sighted person can, who can read the text. They can do all the same things. They can access all the buttons, not just a little subset of buttons. So equal outcome just means you can do all the same things. And to me, this is roughly equivalent to what people usually consider to be accessibility. I'm doing little quote fingers for those who can't see. Accessibility in quote. So accessibility can mean, like when someone makes their website accessible, it just means that a person who is accessing the website can access all the information on it. It's accessible. Doesn't mean it's super usable. That is different. Usable has very specific meanings within the world of design. Okay, there are principles going back to however far you want to go back. Human-computer interaction, HCI, it's an academic discipline, and there's a term that was in more common use, say, in the 70s. And then we got into user interface design and usability and user experience and all these sorts of things. Usability means that someone using a piece of assistive tech to complete a task, in the case of the Echobatix app, going to use the app to touch buttons in the required order. 1, 3, 0, start. And it's going to take them no more physical effort and no more mental effort than a sighted person who doesn't have limited mobility, who can target the buttons. You can come up with a measure estimate of the mental effort and the physical effort. The physical effort, I'll just talk about that one because we'll be coming back to this topic a couple times. If someone is targeting a button, and by someone, I could also be describing a machine that's moving from point A to point B, a robot, a slide, any number of things. It is different to move horizontally, let's say, and then vertically. That is a certain distance, that is a certain effort, versus moving in a straight line, okay? If you're sighted and you're looking at a touch screen, if you want to think of it, we're going to constrain motion to a 2D plane, your finger is effectively moving in straight lines from one button to the next. Part of a sensory motor loop, you are looking at the screen, you've already decided what you're going to do, boom, 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 it's fairly automatic. Go back to the person who's blind, and let's say someone is totally blind or someone has just light perception. If you were to give them instructions in an app and say, go left, go left, go left, go up, go up, go up, so their fingers traversing a longer distance, and there's more mental effort involved to hear instructions, interpret them, act on them. Left, left, left. Oh, right, right, right. And with this particular app, the way we can measure physical effort is the distance of a finger traveled. We can measure mental effort. This is a little different. And I will link to a book that I think describes this pretty well, but that describes a mental effort, how you can estimate the mental effort and compare mental efforts. Even a qualitative comparison is helpful. And we want to get to the point, if we consider accessibility to a right, then usability for sighted people and blind visually impaired people should be equal. Equal usability, no more effort. That's kind of tough in some ways, especially when you deal with audio interfaces where information is presented serially. Think about that one. The third one is equal time. This is probably the toughest one to achieve. So imagine two people go to a restaurant they've never been to. They have a vague idea what's on the menu, what they might want to get. Sighted person, blind person. They should be able to, each person should order what they want, let's say sandwich, salad, drink, in the same amount of time. I'm talking about individual people, but you're actually talking about groups of people to get average and medians and things. So you can compare. So what's the time difference? Is it a factor of 2? Does it take the blind person twice as long? Is it a factor of 10? So just making something just accessible, they can just use it, isn't acknowledging necessarily usability and time. So there you go. Accessibility is a right. Equal outcome, equal usability, equal time. The goal was and remains for the Echobatix app to address a gap in assistive technology, and we're starting to work towards OUT. It's measurable. OUT, equal outcome, equal usability, equal time. That helps me define specifications. What do we have to do to achieve this? The time metric is very clear. Usability metric takes a little more explaining, which I'm not going to do in this video. And the outcome metric is also pretty clear. If there are 10 buttons, let's say, on a touch screen, or maybe multiple screens, can a blind or visually impaired person or a person with a print disability, in the case of the Echobatix app, can they access all the same information? Can they press all the same buttons? Equal outcome. So accessibility is a right, equal outcome, equal usability, equal time leads to metrics, measurable numbers. We can see what their performance is. That leads to specifications. That informs the technology we choose, how fast it works, what other things we may need to quite literally invent, which again, we're building on the work, some cases decades, hundreds of years of stuff, maybe thousands even, that came before us. What math is relevant? What techniques work here? How fast does this have to work? What do we know about human response times? Those are all relevant. It all ties back to our ethics, and in particular for assistive technology, what I'm choosing as the starting point is accessibility as a right. I would ask you, what are your principles? Write them down. And in particular, I'm going to suggest that you read a book by Ray Dalio. And the book is called Principles. Dalio prompts you to write your principles down. The last few things I'll say on the subject are, if you are willing to compromise a principle, then it is not one of your principles. Be clear about the ethical basis for your work. Stick to it. Write your principles down. Stick to them. It's going to help you in your career as someone developing vision technology. And it's interesting, I think, I'm going to tie it into the next video, which is going to be optical character recognition, how Stevie Wonder had an influence on the development of optical character recognition in assistive tech devices. And then we'll go on to other image processing topics related to the Echobatix app. Again, that's the context. And then leading eventually to some fairly detailed discussions of image processing algorithms, machine vision hardware, and so on. But so next video, OCR. Thanks again for listening, and really think about it. What are your principles? Write them down. Thanks a lot.